Well, but I think we've learned something here in the last few minutes. I can see that being smart is just a little more important than even being big as a lineman.
Well, if you're a lineman and are real smart and also real big and strong, it's even better. Now, this young man is one of the greatest in the history of football and also one of the biggest. Les Bingamen, one of the great players of pro football. Old number 65. On this play, Les drops out of the line and intercepts a pass against the Los Angeles Rams. As Les moves in opposite three normal college linemen, you get some idea of his tremendous size. Les's weight fluctuates between 340 and 320 during the playing season. When you're over 300, you're in pretty good position to hold up the middle of any defensive line, if you have any ability to move. And Bingamen's great asset is his speed and agility. One of Les's teammates is Doak Walker, the great halfback of the Detroit Lions, formerly of Southern Methodist University. Doak is one of the quickest and best ball carriers in the business. Yet, as these pictures show, Bingamen is almost as fast on his initial charge as is Walker. A lineman seldom has to move more than 2 or 3 yards before contacting an opponent. His speed is based on how quickly he moves the first 2 or 3 yards. As you can see, even though Les weighs over 300 pounds, he gets away for that first 2 or 3 yards every bit as fast as does Doak. Bingamen is as quick as Walker in the area in which his speed counts. This is the drill that will measure the speed and agility of any defensive man. It's called the wave drill, and the defensive player responds to the signals given by the hand of the coach or teammate. He must move laterally with the signal, up or back, and these changes of direction prove whether or not he has the speed and agility to play. Watch Bingamen's feet. It's miraculous that a man of his size and weight can move so quickly and so easily. If you young football players will practice this drill, you'll find that you are much, much better equipped to play defense.
Well, Bud, he's pretty fast, and I'd hate to have him catch me, too. Bud, whatever happened to the drop kick?
Well, the drop kick is sort of passed out of football due to the change in shape of the ball. This is a modern football, and the rules makers have built it with a rather sharp point. The reason for that is that forward passing has become an increasingly important part of offensive football, and they wanted a ball that could be gripped easily and thrown easily. This ball will go through the air quite well, and it's very easy to handle and to hold. But by having that sharp point, it's very difficult to drop it accurately enough on a grass field to have it rebound straight up in the air. And in kicking a drop kick, unless the ball will rebound accurately, it's very difficult to make a good kick. Now, the old ball that your father or maybe your grandfather used to play with was radically different in shape. You can see that it had rather a blunt, round point. And this ball could be dropped, and it didn't matter how accurately it hit the ground, it would rebound almost straight up. It was very easy to execute a drop kick with a ball of this sort. And it's due to the change in the shape of the two balls that we've had the drop kick sort of passing out of football and the place kick taking over. As you can see, the modern football has a very sharp point, easy to grasp and throw for a forward pass, and the old ball was a whole lot easier to kick because it was almost round.
Well, I certainly didn't realize that the shape of the football had changed that much, Bud.
The idea of the play, of course, is that you make a wide fake, and the lineman, just like a mouse, goes for that fake, and as he goes for it, bingo, he's trapped by another lineman on the offensive team hitting him from the side.
Well, Bud, that's all right for catching mice and pencils, but I still don't quite understand how a trap play catches a football lineman.
Well, I think that maybe I can make a better explanation if I use the little men. A trap play is one where you draw the defense out of position, usually by faking a wide play. For example, the ball will be snapped back to the left halfback, who will start around as if he's going to sweep the end. The defensive men will attempt to move over in front of him, and by so doing, expose themselves to a trap. I think if we take some of these men out of the picture, we'll be able to see it quite a bit better. Remember now, the ball is going to be snapped to the halfback, who is going to fake an end run. As the ball is snapped and he starts his fake, two of the linemen will double team one of the defensive men and turn him in and drive him back. This is really an easy block to make because it's a 2-on-1 situation. Over here, we have this man going downfield and this man faking a block. As he fakes the block, or influences the defensive man, to use the football term, he misses and goes past, and this man now, feeling that he has avoided the block, will start in to chase the ball carrier, who has started out to run wide. Just as he feels he's going to make the tackle, along comes the trap man, hits him from the side where he does not even see him, drives him out of the play, and makes a nice big lane for the ball carrier to come down through the line and pick up those two blockers downfield and perhaps run for a touchdown. It is difficult to see everything that happens on a trap play, even when you know it is coming. Then a flip-flap, the double full twist, two more flip-flaps, and once more the very difficult double full twist. Slow motion gives you, I think, a little erroneous view of how rapidly he must coordinate. Here he is in regular speed doing the same stunts. A great athlete. Now Bob Sullivan, also a national champion and the coach of gymnastics at the Air Force Academy. Sullivan was the first man in national competition to do a double backward somersault and stand on his feet after doing the exercise. Sullivan starts with a round off, does one flip-flap, takes off from the flip-flap into the double backward somersault. This time he lost his balance slightly, went into a backward somersault and a handstand. A flip-flap, a backward somersault, a forward somersault. A great recovery by a great athlete. Let's watch him again as he does the double backward somersault, landing on his feet. Jeff Austin will perform on the trampoline. He starts with a double backward somersault, the full twist, another double backward somersault, another full twist, a coati with a layout, and into a triple twisting backward somersault. Jeff is the only man in competition to do this exercise. It has been named for him and is now called an Austin. Let's watch those same exercises in slow motion. The full twist, the backward somersault again, the full twist, the coati, and from the coati into the Austin. Seeing them. This little girl is Becky Walters. She has the makings of a champion because she is starting young and working with her coach. Next we have Sue Sexton, the Junior Olympic trampoline champion. The full twist. And last, Sue Hill, one of the great women tumblers of America. Backward somersaults and the full twist. A very graceful, talented performer. Let's watch her in slow motion. Her height, the slight tuck on the backward somersault, the triple twist. Double somersault from the tuck position. Miss Hill is also a talented tumbler. The flip-flap, backward somersault, and ending with a full twist backward somersault. Get a fair start again with one man on top of the other. And the basic move in college wrestling is to try to break your opponent down. If Howard will assume the position of the man who is at a disadvantage, and I am the wrestler now who is behind him in what is termed the referee's position, the first and basic maneuver in college wrestling is to try to flatten your opponent to the mat so that you can put on a possible pinning hold. And if you'll think of Howard as a table, his two arms being two legs of the table and his two legs being the other legs of the table, the main idea is first to break your opponent down. I've got a little table here which I think will make it a little bit clearer to you. This is the wrestler who is at the disadvantage. The man having the advantage is behind him. His position corresponds to a table, and when the leg is knocked out, the man will fall to the mat. And now, so you can see a little bit clearer what we've been talking about, let's watch two wrestlers as they operate one against the other. The first method of breaking the opponent down is an inside foot breakdown. Of course, many times as offensive men come down, they try to avoid that happening, and they will try to split the defensive men. As that happens, of course, if the defense is playing well, they will close and block the man off. Let's go out on the rink and watch the defense play. In order to play defense, you must be able to skate well. Here, John Mariucci, coach of the University of Minnesota and former Blackhawk star, shows the skating skill necessary for a good defense man. The ability to move in any direction with fine speed and balance. Now the basic play of the two defensive men. As the center tries to split them, they come together and keep him from penetrating toward the goal. This play requires good coordination between the two defensive men. Here they do not get quite close enough together. The center is able to hit one, then the other, and to clear between them, going on in to score. Let's watch the play once again when executed properly. The defensive men are apart, and as the center tries to split them, they come together with real coordination, blocking him perfectly.
Bud, that looks like it might be a foul.
Well, it's not a foul if you hit with your shoulder or with your hip, but if you hook with your leg, it is a foul. John Mariucci will demonstrate some of the fouls for us. First, hooking with the knee. The difference between the foul and the legal play is the fact that the knee was put out with the intent to actually trip the offensive man. The most dangerous of all fouls is body checking an opponent into the boards or over the boards. One of the hard things to detect for an official is gouging with the butt end of the stick. An elbow in the face is also a foul. Gouging with the blade of the stick. High sticking. And then, of course, there's no doubt about this one. Many of these fouls occur because of the fact that you're playing a game with a stick in your hand, which sometimes can be used as a club. Tell a story about Casey Stengel. You know, Casey is one of modern baseball's greatest managers, but in other years, he didn't fare quite so well. When he was with the Braves a number of years ago, his team got off to a very poor start, and Casey had the misfortune of being involved in an automobile accident. While he was laid up in the hospital, the team happened to win quite a few ball games. Later in the season, Casey recovered, and when he got back with the ball club, well, they hit another one of those slumps. Well, it's the custom in Boston to have an award at the end of the season for the individual who has done the most for Boston baseball. In this particular season, a sports writer stated in his column that there was no question about the man who had done the most for Boston baseball. That man was the cab driver that had run over Casey. You know, an interesting thing happened to me the other day. Mother stopped me and said, "Coach, do you think that I should let my boy play football?"
Well, Bud, there are probably many mothers looking in who are wondering that. They'd be interested in knowing what you as a coach told her.
Well, of course, I said that I thought it was one of the finest activities that young men could possibly engage in. I feel that way because football is good for a boy's physical development. He uses all of his muscles and he has to coordinate them well. In addition, football is a team game. It teaches a boy to subordinate his own individual ambitions and desires in order to help the other men get the job at hand accomplished in first-rate fashion. And then perhaps most important of all is the competitive aspect of the game. You see, we live in a highly competitive world. Almost all of the young men in America will sometime engage in military service. I believe that a game that teaches them rough and tumble physical competition is the greatest possible training that a boy can have during the years of his development.
Well, Bud, I think that all of us can understand why those errors are bad, and yet every game we see, we'll see at least one of them happen. Now, how does a coach feel about that?
Well, you're disappointed, and you naturally hate to see errors occur, but as long as the boy was making a good all-out effort, you don't worry about it. I think that all of you fans should realize that the boy who makes a mistake feels far worse about it than any of you can ever feel. You know, the only way that you can really completely avoid making mistakes in any activity is just not to do anything at all. Don't even participate. As Teddy Roosevelt said, the credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat, who tries and comes short again and again. For his place will never be with those cold and timid souls who know neither victory nor defeat. It's been awfully nice being with you, and I'll look forward to seeing you again next week. I know that all of you youngsters looking in wish that you could swim like this man. But you should keep in mind that he didn't learn to be a champion by wishing. He spent a lot of time and a lot of work mastering the fundamentals of swimming, learning to kick properly, to breathe properly, and to use his arms well. Many of you today wish that someday you'll be a doctor or a lawyer or a nurse. But again, you must keep in mind that wishing won't do it. Proper attention to your schoolwork now, learning to read, learning to write, and learning your mathematics will give you the foundation for success and make you a champion in whatever field you choose when you grow older. It's been awfully good being with you, and I look forward to seeing you again next week.
Bud, some of the fans have requested me to ask you a question, and it's about the quarterback. Now, in the closing minutes of a very, very close game, and he calls a certain signal, are there any other men in the huddle who question it, you know, and maybe think their judgment's a little better than his and want to argue with him?
Well, I think that depends on the quarterback, but if it's a good football team, they'll have confidence in the signal that the quarterback calls. They know that he has the background and the experience to call the proper play. And that's a very important part of success in any human organization. Confidence in the man who is calling the signals. You know, there have been a great many outfits that have been ruined because everybody wanted to be a chief and there just weren't enough Indians left to go around. I think that you young boys and girls should think about that. You have to have confidence in your teachers, and your parents, too, know what is best for you. When those people call the signals, you believe them and play the play as hard as you can. It's been awfully good being with you, and I look forward to seeing you again next week.
Well, Bud, I think I speak for most of the fans out there when I say that it looks like playing the line means a lot of hard knocks and not much credit. Now, why does a boy want to play the line?
Well, basically because he loves to play football, and more important, because he knows that the line is the important part of the team. I think many football fans overlook that fact. The backs get all of the credit. They run with the ball, they catch it, they throw it, and they score the touchdowns. But you win or lose on how effective the line plays. Their contribution to the team is the vital factor in its success. I think that we could all afford to think about a lineman's role in a football team when we relate our own activities to life. The lineman does not care who gets the credit. He only cares about participating to the full limit of his ability, giving everything he has to the success of the organization. It's like that old saying, it's amazing what a group can accomplish when no one cares who gets the credit. It's been awfully good being with you, and I look forward to seeing you again next week.